So this is one more step. You have this symbol here, right? So I'll show you the symbol. You have this symbol here at the top. You just have to click on that symbol so that you can get options of your favorites. So either you can click on this virtual machine and you can directly click on create, so that it will take you to create a button of a virtual machine, and it will give you free trainings, introduction to Azure Virtual Machines, create virtual machine, create a Linux machine. So it will also give you options, and it will be in the topmost corner, left hand side topmost corner. So if you click on that, you will get all your favorites, right? So from here you can deploy this virtual machine. So let's say I'll create new. So now we are going to start and see how we can create a new virtual machine, that is from the image from the marketplace of Azure, right? So the first thing which we have to select is a subscription, and the second thing which you have to create is a resource group. So let's say I want to deploy this machine to a particular HR resource group. So I'll create a new HR new res. Okay, so I'll create new, or I can also select existing, but this is a new group or a new department. I'll create a new resource group, and then the virtual machine name is HR test new. So let's say I'm deploying that to East US. So location wise, we have to select which is the nearest location to your data center. Okay, and the availability options, we'll be discussing that availability set option in the coming session, but for now we'll keep it no infrastructure redundancy. And here is the image. Here is the image which you have to select from the existing, from the Azure marketplace. Either you can select Windows 10, 2012, 2016, or 2019, or any of this, or you can browse all public or private images. So you see this. So from here, I can just say Windows. So it will give all the Windows images which are already there in Azure. Let's say I want 2019 VM. So I'll get all the 2019 VMs with Windows Server, right? So I'll say Linux. I'll get all the Linux flavors. This is the Red Hat Linux 7.2, Oracle Linux. So if whatever the requirement of your operating system, you just have to type it here so that you can get it. So if you are bringing your own image, this is where you can get your images. Once you get your VHD, once you upload it to Azure and created an image out of it, this is where you can select the images. Shared images, if someone is sharing your images, you can get the images from here. Okay, for now, I'm going to select something from the gallery, from the Azure marketplace, that is Azure 2012. Let's say I'll create something which is small disk. Or let's use something from here. So 2012 R2 data center and size. So we have discussed about sizes, right? So Azure virtual machine sizes. So this is the SKU. SKU is nothing but stock keeping unit. Let's say you need a two vCPUs and 8 GB of memory. You can select DS2 V3, or else you need 4 vCPUs and 16 GB of memory. Then what you will do is you will go ahead and you will try to select a virtual machine from here, from the available SKU. So this is the available SKU you have. So what I need is a 4 vCPUs and 60 GB of memory. So in that case, what I'll select is this one. So you see this D4 ASV4, that is a version of VM or the VM size which you have to select according to your requirement. So 4 vCPUs, 16 GB of memory, and 8 data disks. So you can select up to 8 data disks, and the max IOPS it can reach up to is 6400. And this temporary storage on this disk on this virtual machine is 32 GB. And premium disk support, you have a premium disk support, and this is what it cost if you run this virtual machine per month. So you also have the costing here. So 18,000 rupees is what it cost per month if you run this virtual machine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select a small virtual machine, giving we are running on a free subscription. So B2MS, select Azure Spot instances. So this is the new feature which we are using, but we'll discuss about that. For now, we'll set the no, and then we'll give a username and we'll give a password. And the next option we have is a inbound port rule. So let's say this virtual machine is installed. So to access this virtual machine, you have to do a RDP connection. So for a RDP, at least we need 3389 port. So 3389 is the port on which the virtual machine is connected. So if you know about ports or how we can connect through the ports, 3389 is a RDP port used for the connection. So what we are going to do is we are going to allow selected ports, that is RDP, for this particular virtual machine, that is Windows. So if it is Linux, I'll select SSH because we are going to connect through a secure shell, that is SSH, through Linux machines. So for now it is Windows machine, and I am going to select RDP, allow this particular port in order to take a remote session for that. So yesterday we are discussing about reserved instances and hybrid benefit, right? So this is what I'm talking about. So if you have a license, you can save up to 49% of your instance cost. So let's say if I select yes here, it'll say I confirm I have a eligible Windows Server license with a software assurance or Windows Server subscription to apply. In the sense, you should have a license. Windows, whatever the machine which is created, it will not have a license. You have to get your own license, right? So I'll say I'll confirm and I'll click next. So what are the options available here? So the first option is disk option, OS disk option. So OS disk, either I can select a premium SSD or a standard SSD or a standard HDD. So for performance benefits, I'm selecting a premium SSD. Encryption type, I'm selecting with platform managed keys because I don't have a customer managed key. Let Azure manage the encryption as well. And either I can attach a disk. You see this option here. So let's say you are creating a disk and you already have a data disk. So what you will do is create and attach a new disk if you want more data disks, or what you can do is attach an existing disk. You already have a data drive or a database which you have restored and you want to apply that, you have to add an existing disk. So that is what you have to do. So for now, we are creating a new virtual machine. So we'll keep the default values. Click next. In networking, this is where you select to which VNet or to which network I'm going to deploy this. So this is a HR test machine. So I'm going to deploy that to HR network, right? So that is what it is creating subnet and HR IP address. It is creating a new IP, and then HR new REST VNet. This is creating new. So NIC network security group. I'm just selecting a basic one for now. Public inbound ports, I'm only allowing RDP port for now, and accelerated networking, I'm not going to use that for now. I'll discuss about that. So I'll click keep off. Load balancing, no for now. Next, management. Boot diagnostics, I'll keep it default. This is for just monitoring, log collection, and desktop OS diagnostic collection. For now, I'll keep the defaults. We'll discuss about this in the coming sessions. Advanced. So I'll keep it Gen 1 for now. If there is no use of Gen 2 operating system, I'll keep it default. Tags, I'll say HRDEP first machine, which is created. Next. Guys, are we clear about the virtual machine creation? Any queries till now? Before we click on create. So I'll go through this one more time. So if someone asks you to go ahead and create a machine, what you will do? You'll just say, go to virtual machines at the top, and then you'll start create. So once you start create, it'll give you a subscription where you have to deploy, and it'll also ask you where what is the resource group into which you want to deploy this. And then you will give the virtual machine name and the region and availability set for now, no, and then the image which you want to deploy. So this is the marketplace image in Azure, right? So image I have selected as Windows 2012 R2 data center. And then size of the virtual machine, I have selected 2 vCPUs and 8 GB of memory. So this is the SKU from which I have selected. If you want to change that, you can click on change and you can select from the available SKUs, but the cost is higher for the higher SKU, right? So if you have only 2 vCPUs and 8 GB of memory, you will be costing around 4,000. So if I select like 4 vCPUs and 16 GB of memory, it will be costing around 9,000 for me, right? So I'll give a username and password. I'll say I'll allow RDP ports 3389 and then click next. So here I'll select the OS disk type. What is the OS disk type I'm going to run? For the performance issue, for the performance reasons, I'm selecting premium disk, and then I'm clicking on next. Networking, I'm going to select the right VNet where I'm going to place it, and then I'll click next. Management boot diagnostic, I'll keep it default, and advanced, I'll just keep it default for now. Tags, I'll give a tag which department it belongs, and then review. So this is the final review. So what options we have selected? Product details, standard B2MS. This is the SKU which we have selected. SKU is nothing but stock keeping unit, where you have a particular build of virtual machines, right? Subscription, this is the hourly rate. If I am deploying this machine, this is the hourly rate. 5 rupees is what they are going to charge for me per hour, right? So by clicking the accept, it will be, so this is the subscription details which we are going to deploy, and the resource group, virtual machine name, region, availability set option, and the username, and inbound port. I'm only allowing RDP. Already have a Windows license. I clicked on yes. I'm using hybrid benefit, Windows type licensing, and disk type, OS disk type premium disk. And this is the virtual machine, virtual networking options which I have selected. And tags, I have given a HR department tag. So I'll click on create. Guys, any questions till now in creating a virtual machine? Sorry guys, I got a call, so I was just trying to attend. So guys, I just want to understand, are you clear till now for the virtual machine creation?
Yes, sir.
So,
Yeah. Yep. Are we confident on that, how we can create a virtual machine?
yep.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is the virtual machine which is created now. So we just have deployed a virtual machine and the deployment is successful, right? So it is running now. So if I go here, I can view more on the activity logs. So that is nothing but I have created a virtual machine. So this is where I can see what I have deployed, right? So I'll go to Home tab. So if I want to access the virtual machine which I have created, so what I'll do, I'll go to virtual machines. I'll go to virtual machines. This is the new virtual machine which is created, right? So this is the new virtual machine. Let's view what are the options we have. So the first thing which you have is a resource group here, and the status is running. It is powered on and it is running, and it is an East US location, free trial subscription, and this is the subscription ID to which it is deployed, and what is the operating system, Windows, and what is the size of this virtual machine, right? So the size is B2 MS and the 2 CPUs and 8 GB is the memory given to this machine, and this tag to HR department, right? And this is the public IP assigned to this virtual machine, right? So if you see this, you have private IP and public IP. So why do I have a public IP? If I have to connect from my machine to this machine, so I need a public IP, right? So private IP, I can only connect within that network, but public IP, I can connect from anywhere in the world, right? So that's the reason why it got a public IP. So for public IP is used if you are connecting externally from your organization. So within the organization, if you have a site-to-site VPN, then you can use private IP. Okay. Virtual network. This is the virtual network to which it is configured to. This is the DNS name configuration. Okay. So let's say I have created a virtual machine. Now I want to connect to it, right? So I want to connect to it. So how can I connect? What are the options available? So the first thing which we can do is I can connect from directly from here, right? So let's see what are the options available here. Connect, start. This virtual machine is already started. So that's the reason why it is grayed out. Restart. If you want to restart this instance, you can click on restart. Stop is nothing but powering off it, right? Capture is nothing but taking a mirror image or a copy or a snapshot of this virtual machine and to deploy it as a template in some other location. We'll use a capture. Delete is for deleting this virtual machine. Refresh is just to refresh the configuration. Okay. So the first thing which we are going to discuss today is how we can connect to this virtual machine, right? So if I have to connect, I can do a RDP to this machine. For Windows machine, it is RDP. For Linux machine, it is SSH, right? So I'll click on RDP. I'll say download RDP file. So this is the RDP file which is downloaded. I'll click on connect. More choices. Use a different user. I'll say this is the username which I have given, and this is the password, right? So this is the new virtual machine which is created, right? I can see the new virtual machine which is created. This is this. The server manager have opened for this. So this is the machine which I have just created. So if I want to view, let's say this is the machine. If I want to view the resources which are given on that, what I'll do is I'll go to the search tab at the top and I'll say MS info 32, just to check whatever the resources we have provided are coming here. So what does it say? So it is saying that processor is 2 core logical processor. So we have given a 2 core 2 logical processor. This is the processor information, and installed memory is 8 GB. So this is what we have given, right? So if we go to overview, we have given 2 core and 8 GB of memory. So let's say someone came to me and said, so the virtual machine is not performing up to the mark. I want to increase the resources on this from 2 CPUs to 4 CPUs and 8 GB to 16 GB, right? So if I want to upscale this or upgrade this machine, what I can do is I can go to size here. I can select a different size before MS and I can click on resize. Guys, this is important. So if you want to resize the machine, in the sense upscale the machine from 2 vCPUs to 4 vCPUs and 8 GB to 16 GB of memory, so you go to size of the virtual machine and you click on resize. So till now we just have 2 vCPUs and 8 GB of memory. Let's see what happens. And a resize needs reboot of the machine. So just remember, guys. So a downtime is required for resizing. So it will disconnect from here. It already have disconnected the RDP session, right? So the resizing of the virtual machine is completed. Let's go to overview tab. So I can still see 2 vCPUs and 8 GB. So what I do is I do a refresh. So as soon as I refreshed, I can see 4 vCPUs and 16 GB, to which I have upgraded, right? Are we clear now? How we can resize the virtual machine?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'll do a remote session again to show what are the resources within the virtual machine now. Now let's say I want this machine. I'll go to MS info 32 to check on the system information. It shows 4 cores, that is 4 vCPUs and 16 GB of memory. So are we clear now? So how we can resize the machine? So we'll go ahead and we'll try to resize it again to B2MS. Resize. So what it will do, it will reduce the system resources from 4 vCPUs, 16 GB to 2 vCPUs and 8 GB of memory, right? So that is what we are going to do. In the meanwhile, let's go to the PPTs and see what else we have. So we have discussed about Azure Virtual Machine Shared Image Gallery, from where you can get the shared images from a different subscription. This is what we have discussed. Bring your own OS. So upload your VHD to blob storage and then create an image. And then you can bring your own OS. We have already seen from where we can check my images, disk image mobility, Azure custom images. So which you already have in the Azure Marketplace or Azure Market images. These are default images which are available. right? So let's talk about Azure Virtual Machine disks today. Okay. So once you log into the machine, if you go to my computer, you can see this kind of disks. So OS disk, I've already told you. So this is the operating system disk. That will be more by default. It will be in the C drive. So for any virtual machine which you have created in Azure, there will be a temporary storage disk that is created, which you cannot use to store your data. It is just a temp storage disk, which is for the caching of the host. So it will not be used for any kind of storage of data. So you cannot use that. So from D drive, the next drive letter is a data disks. So if I go back to Azure and let's say refresh, it will be refreshed to, it is reduced to 2 vCPUs and 8 GB now. Let me connect to my machine. RDP. I'm collecting it. So I'll type the password. Click OK. So if I go to my virtual machine and if I click on folder, you see this? I have a C drive that is a operating system disk, and I have a D drive which is a temporary cache drive. So you cannot use that for your data storage. Either you can attach a new drive onto this machine and you can start putting the data in that, or you can put some data in C drive, but that is not suggested again. For data storage, you have to add a new drive, which will be from F drive. So D drive is by default in Azure will be temporary storage. That is for host caching. So that is about virtual disks. And let's go back. Let's move to the next one. So persistent disk management, Windows OS, C drive, the OS disk, that is C drive. So D drive is always temporary storage, must not be used to store data, and that is if the system is down, you will be losing all the data. If the system is crashed, or if it is plugged out or accidentally deleted, you may be able to lose all the data, right? So E, F, G, and all the subsequent is a data disks. So from E, it will be data disks. You can give up to Z, that is Z. So you can give up to Z for the data disks. Capabilities, host cache default. So these are for host caching. C drive by default, it will be cached, and D drive, it will not be cached because it is just a temp drive. And E and FG, you have to enable caching for that. So this is what I'm discussing about. OS disk, read only, read and write. These are by default caching modes. Data disk supported, but you have to turn on the caching, disk caching. Temporary disk not supported. That is not for caching because it is just a temp disk for host caching. So types of disk and performance. So what are the kinds of disk we have and what are their performance thing? So managed and unmanaged disk, we already have discussed. Unmanaged disk, you will be taking care of the disks and you will be keeping that on a storage account of your choice. But managed disk is Azure will take care of your disks and it will try to manage all the disks. You don't have to worry about where you can store that disk. So unmanaged by user management, managed disk by Azure management, right? You just have to remember that. Performance, we have three types of disks, that is standard, premium, and ultra. Standard is for just for data storage. Premium is for databases, OS disk, and any other applications which you are installing. That is for the performance. Ultra disks are for millisecond latency. For high performance applications, you need ultra disks. And virtual machine sizes. This we have already discussed, but I'll show that in a pictorial diagram. So these are the virtual machine sizes available: A, B, and D, F, G. These are the SKUs which you have. So A, D, AV2, DV2, B, DV3 are general purpose virtual machines. General purpose are, you can use it for testing, you can use it for development machines. You can, if you're trying just to install a machine just for testing purpose, you can select from any of the general purpose machines. So compute optimized is nothing but you will have high performance in that machines, in the sense you will have high performance of CPUs in that, in the sense higher cycles on that virtual machine. In the sense you will have let's say 10 CPUs and 16 GB of memory is called a compute optimized, because you have a lot of cores which are running on that machine, right? Memory optimized is nothing but when compared to CPU to memory ratio, memory will be high. That means you will have two vCPUs, but the memory will be 20 GB. So in that case, it will be called as a memory optimized machines. So those are G series, EV3 series, and MV2 series. Storage optimized, you will have a lot of storage on that, on these L and LV2, and it will be supported for a high amount of disks. In the sense, you can add up to 8 or 16 data disks onto this storage optimized SKU. GPU optimized for gaming, high performance compute for high performance applications. So these are the different kinds of SKUs you have. Specs examples, I told you, right? So this is for the general purpose VM. So you will have two vCPUs, 8 GB of memory, temp, and these are just the chat you have. So these are some of the general purpose virtual machines. And this is memory optimized. Memory optimized, you will have less number of vCPUs but high number of memory. You see this memory here, memory to CPU ratio is not even. So when I selected a virtual machine for deployment, I have 4 vCPUs and 16 GB of memory, but here it is 2 vCPUs and 16 GB of memory. So that means we have less computing power, but we have more memory installed on this machine. 4 vCPUs, 32 GB of memory, 8 vCPUs, 64 GB of memory. These are memory optimized. Next is uh, memory optimized. This is general purpose, and this is NVIDIA. NVIDIA is for gaming. So if you want to install some machines for the gaming, you have to install these series machines, NV12, which requires a GPU processor, which requires NVIDIA graphic card and all. So you have to install these kind of machines. So you see this vCPU and memory on this, it is very high. So when you see the CPUs and memory, it is high. Temp disk, it is 320 GB. GPU processor. So this is what I'm talking about. So if you want a gaming PC to be installed, you install a NV12 so that you can get a GPU processor. GPU memory, you will have this much, and these are used for gaming. So next we are talking about virtual machine accelerated networks. Virtual machine accelerated network. We have seen an option when we are trying to configure a virtual machine networking. We have seen an option called accelerated network. What is accelerated network? So let's see. Accelerated network enables a single physical NIC on Azure machine host to appear as a multiple NICs to the host. That is nothing but whatever the virtual machine, if it is giving one NIC, then it will be using the host network card directly without using a VNet or a switch. So it will be using a host NIC directly. So in order to increase the performance. So if you want that to be enabled, you just have to enable when you're trying to create a virtual machine. Allows an Azure guest VM to think that it has its own physical NIC, so that it can send and receive traffic directly from the NIC instead of going via virtual switch. This is what I am talking about. Instead of going through the virtual switch, it will directly talk to the physical NIC and transfer the data. Can only be attached to VM, which is when the VM is created. So you have to do this when the VM is created. requires VM instance of 8 or more cores. So if it is 8 or more cores, then it will allow the virtual machine to be enabled with accelerated networking. So this is a prerequisite. Can only be enabled for new NIC and not for the existing NIC. So when you are trying to create a virtual machine, you have to enable it. So this diagram shows what is accelerated networking. So normally what happens is when you try to create a virtual machine here, so it will be going through the virtual switch, you know, and then going to the physical NIC, then to the physical switch. But in accelerated networks, if you see this accelerated networks, it will be going from virtual machine directly to the physical machine's NIC. You see this? So this layer here is removed from the accelerated network when you enable that. So you will be removing the latency as well for this. So it will be directly talking to the physical NIC in this scenario. So that is about accelerated networking. Let me remove this. Yeah. So once you enable the accelerated networking, you will have Mellanox drivers to be installed and rebooted for the machine. And then you will see in the device management, you will see the Mellanox Connect 3 virtual function Ethernet adapter like this. And let's go to multi-NIC support. So in any of the virtual machine which is installed on Azure, you can have multiple NICs to that virtual machine. You can have a single NIC according to your requirement, or you can add virtual networks accordingly. So if I go back to Azure, just give me a minute, guys. I have to attend a call. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah. So if you want to add a new virtual network adapter, so what you will do is you will come to the virtual machine and then you will click on networking. So you see this networking tab here. So if you want to add, attach or detach a new network adapter, you have to power off the virtual machine. So or else you will not be having this option. So you see this option, attach a network adapter. You will not be able to see that option. So let's go ahead and stop this machine. Just powering off this machine in order to create and attach a new network adapter. So let's see what it is doing. It is trying to stop the virtual machine now. So the virtual machine is stopped. Let's see if the networking is enabled. It is still stopping it. So the virtual machine is successfully stopped. Let's see. Let's go ahead and try to attach a new virtual machine. Maybe for this machine, I think we have a NIC support? Let's see. I think we have to change the SKU. Let us go ahead and change the SKU here. I'll say D4VS and resize. because multi-NIC support is enabled or available only in a certain set of SKU, that is the virtual machines. So we may have to change that. Let's see if we can attach here. Still not allowing us to attach. So you see this attach network adapter now is highlighted because we changed the SKU to a supported configuration. So that's the reason why it is giving us a attached network interface here. So create a new network interface. So we are trying to add a new network adapter, the secondary network adapter to a virtual machine now. So test, I'll give a default subnet, and dynamic, I'll give a dynamic IP address so that the Azure will provide the IP address. I'll keep the resource group as HR new, and then I'll create this. Previously, I'm using a B2MS that supports only one NIC card, so that if there is a requirement of two network adapters, you have to select the SKU accordingly in the beginning when you are trying to deploy the machine, or else you can resize it accordingly. So the VNet is created. I just have to attach that test one. And for attaching or detaching or for doing any configuration, you need a virtual machine to be powered off. So you see this I can see this as a primary NIC. This is a primary NIC, and I'm sorry, I think. And this one test is a secondary NIC for which we have a private IP. So this is about adding a new network adapter and support of multiple network adapters on Azure VM. Let's go back and let's talk about multiple NIC support. Using multiple NICs on a VM allows you to manage network traffic better. So isolated network traffic between and front end NICs and back end NICs. Different VM sizes support a vary number of NICs. So I told you, so initially we are not able to add a NIC because it is just a general purpose B2MS VM and it doesn't support multiple NIC cards. So we changed the SKU to a different SKU and then we started adding a network adapter. So this is how you can see multiple IPs per NIC. So when I see this NIC here, so networking, if I go here, if I go to this default network adapter, that is HR test new, I can see two IPs here, that is network private IP and a public IP. So if I go here to a network adapter, if I go to IP configuration, I can see two IP addresses, that is one is public IP that is unassigned because the virtual machine is powered off. I'll start this. So you see this, we got a public IP once we start the machine. So if we go to networking, if I go to my network adapter, network interface here, I can see two IP addresses. One is public and one is private. Public is to connect from external sources and private is to connect internally within the network. So that is what the PPT says. So multiple networks and use 256 private and public IPs can be assigned to each NIC. Private IP address support network security groups and user definite rules, and both can be attached to NSG. Through multiple IPs per NIC, load balancing can be configured across both primary and secondary NICs. So load balancing, when we are doing this, we can either give the public or private NIC, but mostly we'll give the private NICs. Configured using Azure portal or a PowerShell or Azure CLI or a ARM template. So we can configure either through Azure portal or PowerShell. We can add a network adapter through PowerShell, portal, Azure CLI, and a ARM template. So this can be configured accordingly. Virtual machine availability set. So this is what we are going to discuss. Maybe for today, I think we'll wind up the class. I think we have a lot of content to be discussed. We'll discuss tomorrow. But for today, we'll stop here till the virtual machines. Tomorrow, we are going to discuss about availability sets and availability zones and update domain, fault domain, and all. So for today, I'm going to give you the lab setup for today. So what all we have discussed? First thing is create a virtual machine and allow required ports, required RDP ports, right? Create a virtual machine from Azure Image Gallery. Okay. And the third one is create a Linux virtual machine. So this is a task for you guys. Create a Linux machine from Azure Image Gallery or Marketplace. Azure Marketplace using hybrid benefit. So you have to demonstrate the lab using a hybrid benefit. Okay. And create a Windows machine in D series SKU with multiple NIC cards. Okay. So these are the 4 labs, and this is the assignment for you guys for tomorrow. So open for question, guys. Any questions till now? So do you think you'll be able to do all these labs? It's just virtual machine creation, guys. So the last one is just to create a SKU and then resizing. We already also have discussed. Once created, then try to resize the machine with available SKU. Okay. So these are the 5 labs, guys. So try to resize and also try to add multiple NICs. Try to create a Linux machine from Azure Marketplace and see if you can connect to that. Try to create a machine from Azure Image Gallery and try to configure it with the required ports. RDP port, which is required, that is 3389. And try to connect to your machine which you have created and see if you're able to connect to that. Okay. So these are the 5 things which you have to do by tomorrow. Any questions, guys? No questions? Okay. Yep. So we'll catch up tomorrow, and I expect you guys to finish all these labs so that we'll be on the same page. Okay. You said to upgrade the 5.1 and I'm not getting that on. So can you help on that day? Yeah. Sai, we will discuss this on Saturday. So in the lab session. So we'll see where we are seeing where we are doing the wrong thing. Okay. Okay. Anything else, guys, for today? I'll stop the recording.